Welcome to the Embodied Enlightenment podcast, your podcast for a healthier, happier, more soul-fueled you. I'm your host, Carrie Merriam, here to guide you to reclaim your power to live your ultimate life. Your journey to expanded conscious awareness begins right now. All right, we are on. Welcome everyone to another episode of Embodied Enlightenment. Thank you so much for tuning in, for joining alongside Pablo Escorcia. Oh, what a sexy name right off the bat. Like it rolls off the tongue. And this man across the way from me is such a beautiful soul. And I'm so excited to connect with him today because he's really figured out the different aspects of himself. He's been able to develop enough conscious awareness to recognize the different architects that exist within him. So he is able to exist within both worlds, the world of spirituality, of holding space, of being a teacher of yoga and dance, and also the world of business, being an entrepreneur. Pablo is a Berlin-based entrepreneur, a Biodanza teacher, a yogi, a coach, and a consultant. His life has been a journey of searching for his own path by integrating the practical world of business and the integral world of yoga and dance. He has 15 years experience as an organized consultant, coach, and trainer. Pablo, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie, for the invitation.
Yes. Did I say the dance correctly?
Biodanza, yeah, it's in Spanish because it was created in Latin America. But yeah, the translation would be Biodanza, as you said it.
the English translation.
Yes.
Beautiful. So how did you kind of begin your journey? Was there an aha moment? Was there a soul brother or sister that planted a seed? How did you first start to come onto this path of awakening and know that first archetype within you, which was the spirituality, right? Which was the healer, the teacher?
Yeah, that's a good question because it wasn't a brother or a sister, it was a mother. My mother was my first teacher, and she has lived her life from a place of consciousness as well since I know her, and she has been in her path of discovering herself by looking at many different things and traveling the world and connecting herself with the ancient medicines of the indigenous people in Colombia, and also creating her own company in Colombia. So somehow I draw a lot of my inspiration out of her. And I see that her figure, and she's still alive, and I still have a really close relationship with her. I see that her figure is still inspiring me to live my path the way that I have been living.
Beautiful. What a amazing thing to have your mother to not only hold space, but be a teacher and an advocate for this path of wellness and really the journey within. So you are one of the few people that I know in my life that has actually been able to navigate these two worlds, this world of construct, of really showing up, of offering your gifts, of being a consultant and a coach, as well as staying true to the path of yogi and holding space as a dance teacher and a spiritual healer. And often what we see is people are either existing within one or two worlds. And I'm trying to navigate, I am navigating into both. But I'd love to hear your perspective on that and kind of what was the original thoughts that erupted that you knew that you wanted to dance between both worlds?
Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to be able to learn how to navigate between the different worlds. I would say that there are not only two, there are many different worlds. And it took me a long while, so a couple of decades, to figure out my way to do this. Before, I always thought that I needed to choose. I needed to choose either to follow this alternative path of yoga, shamanism, conscious movement, and just go barefoot, through life, or focus on the business aspect and go to the university and start working 9 to 5 work. But and in different moments in my life, I chose to do just one. But it was always the feeling always came of something that was missing. Actually, that's something that I wasn't feeling complete. I wasn't feeling whole. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter what I was doing, either dancing, yoga, or just consultancy. There was always a feeling that this is good, this is great, but this is not everything that I can offer. So I moved to Berlin 6 years ago, and I moved to Berlin because of the death of my father. And I took this opportunity to reinvent myself, to say, okay, because I somehow, the death of my father made me realize that life can be really short, because he died somehow in a rather surprising way. So I told myself, okay, if I want to do this, I need to do this now. So when I was 35 years old, I decided to leave everything that I had in Colombia and start a new life in Berlin. And I took this opportunity to find myself in a new context, to find myself in a new country, and where nobody expected anything from me. So of course, because when I was in Colombia, I had my own network, I had my own group of people, my work, my history, and people already had an idea of who I was. And in Berlin, nobody knew me. So I decided to somehow start from scratch, from within as well. Say, okay, everything that I have done has brought me to this place, but now I want to create a new beginning. And this intention that I put, I believe, was the seed that allowed me to find ways to bring these different paths into one. So yeah, somehow it was like this.
It's such a beautiful story, and I love this concept of the continual opportunity to reinvent yourself, right? We often, I feel like, get into these patterns and these loops, these energetic loops based on the environment that we exist in, right? Our external world reflects our internal world and vice versa. It's this circular mirroring. But when we're able to shift away from those environments, we can then have a bigger opportunity, I think, to reflect on how we want to identify not only with ourselves, but how we want the world to identify with us, right? The roles that we're existing within that society, within that community that we currently lived in. And this is the major reason why I love to travel so much, because you constantly keep getting to reinvent yourself. And while you're still learning who you truly are, which most of us are continually in this process of understanding who we are, when you travel, you just get to try on a bunch of different things, because it doesn't matter. You might never see that person again anyway. So you're like, well, I'm going to be this today, and like see how that feels and see what the response is with the environment. So I love that. I know for myself, when I started to lean into becoming an entrepreneur, that a lot of my beliefs started to become questioned, right? So if you look at systems and formulas and what Tony Robbins says, like stand on the backs of giants that already came before you. This is a very masculine way to do business. And you and I have had many conversations that that's shifting in and of itself. But I'd love to hear your advice if individuals like myself that are really rooted to the spiritual connection of their teachings, that are teaching yoga or holding space for breath work or teaching dance, that want to kind of play within that field and to start to develop a business and offer their services. What advice would you give them?
That's a really nice question, a really deep question. I don't know how to answer that straightforward. Just to speak from my own experiences. First of all, I'm really good at discovering my own beliefs and challenging them, inviting myself to challenge what I believe is true about myself and about life. And as you were saying before, for that, traveling is great. But you cannot always travel outside. So just take a plane and just go far away. But this ability that we have to reflect and to look inside, I believe that this is really important, and to see that maybe what you think is true, it's maybe only a partial truth, or that the truth are dynamic. This is one thing. And the other thing is that I started believing that I am a generalist. And this is an idea that is opposite to this idea that we see every day outside in the world, that is about specialization. So that if we want to be good at something, we need to specialize, and we need to devote ourselves just to do one thing. Since I realized that I couldn't be like this. I wasn't like this, because when I was doing one thing that I was really passionate about, I was missing some other things. So I decided that I wanted to explore many different paths at the same time. And even if I couldn't go as deep as somebody else in one path, the possibility of exploring different paths gave me the ability to connect unconnected dots, to start discovering the connections between, for example, conscious dance and conscious movement and dance, and organizational development, of the discipline that yoga brings into leadership in an organizational context. So this ability that I have to see myself as a generalist and to challenge my beliefs has allowed me to find these connections that are not necessarily obvious for everybody else. So this is one thing that I have discovered within myself. And as an advice, as you asked me, I would say that besides this commonplace of following your own truth and your own path, is that maybe challenging that path, that truth again and again, proving if this makes sense to you again and again. And besides that spiritual path that you're in, maybe what are the other possibilities that you have in life to express your spirituality besides your yoga practice or your dance practice or your meditation practice? Yeah.
Yes, I love, this just got me so excited, because what you just tapped on, I think, is so pivotal for myself, and I'm sure for so many other people. And it's this concept of being a generalist. And the number one feedback that I've received since I've started my own work and being an entrepreneur is that I need to niche down, that I'm too general. And I'm like, no, I'm teaching mind, body, soul learning. It needs to be general and incorporate the multiple different facets of mind, body, soul teachings and personal development fused with spiritual development. It's not one specific lineage. So I love that. I love that so much, because I feel myself, I'm very much a generalist as well, that I love to keep learning, and I love to continue to learn and incorporate new science, new spiritual opportunities to connect. Like, I want to keep taking trainings that are across the board versus the same lineage of training, and become a specialist within that. So I love that so much. It really resonated.
That's really interesting, and it presents a challenge, which is the grounding, because for us this creative spirit is just amazing to spread out our wings. Just we feel at home when we're able to spread our wings out. But the thing is that when we are not grounded, This wings is somehow like a kite. We get pushed by the wind in any direction, and maybe in directions that we actually don't like or that are not a priority at this point. So for me, that's why it is important not only to spread our wings, but to root myself. It's important for me to root myself in any specific practice. If I speak from my own experience, I see two practices that have really grounded me completely. Is my yoga practice every morning here by myself. This is one thing that is key for me. And the other one is the presence of my son. Because when I have an 11-year-old son, and when he was born, I decided to be a father. So because it's not only because he's here that I'm a father, it's I really decided to be a present father, even though I am separated from his mother. And this really, so this decision of being a father really put me in a place that I needed to be stable for him. And by being stable for him, I found a way to be stable for myself. So somehow that this core training of being present and here was really important for me then to direct my flight. To when my wings were spreaded, then I was feeling, yeah, I know where I'm going. So this piece of advice has really worked for me and works for the people that I teach the dance to. Is, yeah, spread your wings, open your heart, but root yourself, ground yourself.
I completely could not agree more. Same. Sometimes, you get swept up in the energies of everything else. And I'm such a huge advocate of a morning routine. And the days that I don't do it, which is so rare, I feel like I'm all over the place. And it's the same. It's a yoga asana practice by myself with my altar, and then, quick breath work and meditation. And it's just mine. I light my altar and I connect with my spirit guides, and that anchoring every morning is a non-negotiable and has to be done.
Yeah, this is something that you and I share, and I believe that it, as you say, it's an anchor, and a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people struggle with this, finding this anchor, grounding themselves. And I believe that in this world, and especially in a city like Berlin, that has so many things to offer, is really easy to get lost. So a grounding practice is key for us to be able to navigate this life and to find our own truth again and again.
Yeah. If there is one message that is coming through you right now that you really like to share, what would that be?
Well, now it's winter time here in Berlin, and I'm really connected with the inner silence. So as we were speaking before you started recording, this is a moment to hibernate. So somehow our bodies and our mindsets it's about going in and sleeping and taking care of ourselves. And I am really reflecting on the importance of these moments of silence, of inner silence. For inner peace, for creativity, for being when I go outside, because I cannot hibernate, sadly. When I go outside to work, I try to be connected with my inner truth and my inner silence again and again. So this is somehow part of my anchor. It starts with my asana and yoga meditation practice, and then I try to keep on breathing throughout the day. In silence within myself. And this is something that is really inspiring for me, and I believe that it could be useful for many, many others to anchor themselves in their own inner silence.
If people want to find out about the workshops that you offer or connect with you around consultancy work, how do they do that?
Well, right now I'm working here in Berlin and offering different things. Of course, I have different websites for different things that I have. One of them is focused on Biodanza, meditation, shamanism, and it's called 7 Sessions with the number 7 sessions.de. So so Germany, Deutschland. And my consultancy work is called Intention, in which we work with these tensions that arise when learning and movement wants to happen. And the website for that is intention.online. So yeah,
we can put them in the
that's
comments
it.
as well. Amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for offering your words, your wisdom, and your energy. It's been such a blessing to connect with you and have you on the Embodied Enlightenment podcast.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yes. Till next time, thank you so much. Go over and like, comment, or share this episode with anyone that you think would benefit. Until next Thursday, thanks so much for being here.
Bye.
Bye. I'm Carrie Merriam, and you've been listening to the Embodied Enlightenment podcast. You can follow Embodied Enlightenment on Instagram or join the private Facebook group as well. You can also follow me, Carrie Merriam, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you've liked this podcast, please go over to iTunes or YouTube and comment, subscribe, and leave a review. And if you think someone could benefit from the teachings within this episode, please feel free to share it. Stay tuned next week for another conscious conversation. And as always, thank you so much